The third issue that has to be addressed at the Constitutional Convention is sort of like what else to do about like slavery. What is the status of slavery going to be in the new nation? And this was honestly a topic that wasn't talked about a ton at the Constitutional Convention because it was pretty widely accepted that Southern states were not going to accept any sort of indication in the new government, in the new Constitution, that slavery wasn't going to be allowed. So the issue of slavery comes up sort of at different points. There are a couple different issues that like Northerners and Southerners like disagreed on. So again, this is another sort of like it's involving the topic of slavery. You know, it's going to be like representatives from Northern states arguing with representatives from Southern states. Um, One of the sort of unrelated issues to slavery was that in this new government, the Constitution was going to allow like the national government to have much more control over like regulating commerce. It's just a fancy way for like economic activity between like the states and like other countries. And this is something that the Southerners like feared because they thought that the national government was going to like tax like the goods that they were selling to like other countries, and this would hurt their like economic like well-being. So as part of like one of the arguments, the northern states argue that they want the national government to have like more control over commerce. The southern states see this as an opportunity, so they're willing to allow the national government to have a bit more control over economic activity if they can get a clear indication, number one, from the from the northern states, that slavery is going to be allowed to continue to exist, but even that the idea of like the slave trade, like importing new slaves into the country, is still going to live on into the new country. The compromise they work on that makes both sides relatively happy is that the northern states kind of get what they want, which is this new government is going to have more control over like the economy than the Articles of Confederation did. And the other sort of thing that's going to be included in this compromise that'll make southern states happy is that slavery clearly is still going to remain, and even the slave trade itself will continue to exist for another 20 years. So 20 years from the Constitutional Convention is 1807. So Southerners will have another 20 years to continue to import slaves into the country. After 1807, slavery will still be allowed to continue. You're just not going to be importing new slaves into the country.